About our neighbours now, Zimbabweans are awaiting a constitutional court ruling following the Movement for Democratic Change's legal challenge to President Emmerson Mnangagwa's election victory.
Well, our colleague Aldrin Sampear was one of those who in Zimbabwe covering those elections. Of course, they came back and is joining us now on our couch here in the studio. Morning, Aldrin. Thank you very much for coming in. Firstly, there's been some news around whether or not the MDC's legal team, that includes South African lawyers and attorneys, senior counsel like Aldrin Sampear, will be able to get permits to represent the MDC in court. Can we just start there because there's some developments this morning?
Remember that the Justice Minister in Zimbabwe had said that they had not granted them a working permit because they did not receive the applications in time. The argument or the reason that the Justice Minister gave was that by Friday, when the applications arrived, he had already left his office. But today being Wednesday, we understand that they still have not received their working permits. However, though, they are in the country, including Jeremy Gauntlet. The development that we heard this morning, speaking to the MDC Alliance's spokesperson, is that Aldrin Sampear as well as Advocate Ngugaitobi will be going to a high court in Zimbabwe, in Harare, to try and force the minister to grant them that working permit. And we must take into consideration that the court is set to sit around about 10 o'clock. So truly a tight deadline that they have here.
So just remind us, Aldrin, how we actually got to this point and are in court.
Well, it is the announcement of the election results. The announcement from the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission that Emmerson Mnangagwa has won the elections by 50.8%, and Nelson Chamisa had attained 44%. And the issue is, what the MDC Alliance is saying is that there have been some errors in the calculation of the results, and they believe that the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission is in bed with the governing party, ZANU-PF. Quite interestingly, and this will become pivotal in this court case as well, is the admission from the chairperson of the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission, Priscilla Chikumba, that in actual fact there had been some errors in the calculation of these results, where from some polling stations the results were calculated twice. She then makes the argument that even after you've rectified that, it still means that Emmerson Mnangagwa has won the elections, because when you win the elections in Zimbabwe, you must win by 50% plus at least one vote. And she says that he had received those votes. But just this admission alone is enough for the MDC Alliance to cry foul.
To cast doubt over others,
to cast doubt on these elections,
Yeah. Now, we played a clip earlier of an interview with our colleague Shahan Ramkinsoon with a guy called Trustnklo from the MDC here on eNCA last night on News Hour, expressing confidence that the MDC has got a winnable case. They're going to overturn the decision by the ZEC to award the victory to Mnangagwa. The
first hurdle actually that the MDC Alliance face is whether the Zimbabwean Constitutional Court will accept that their application to overturn these elections was launched within the 7-day deadline. Remember, the results, I think, was launched on the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, the 3rd or the 2nd. But the ZANU-PF, as well as Emmerson Mnangagwa and the Electoral Commission, is saying that actually the application was launched after the deadline. So that's the first hurdle that they face. And if the court then accepts that, okay, you guys have made your submission by the 10th of August, then this means that another hurdle that the court now faces is whether it will be able to deliver a verdict by Friday, because the courts have to deliver a verdict within 14 days after that application has been launched.
So what does it actually mean when they say they want these election results overturned? Are we saying hand victory to the MDC? Are we asking for a recount? Are we asking for a re-election?
It will all be up to the court what the remedy is. The three options available to the court is either to declare a winner. The other option is to nullify the elections and ask for a rerun of the elections, which then means that the Electoral Commission will have 60 days to set up an election. And of course, knowing just before the elections, in case of a presidential runoff, we understand that it was the 8th of September, the 7th of September that was set down for a rerun of the election. So one believes that the Electoral Commission does have all the mechanisms available to have a election rerun, and this could be a possibility should the court find that there's merit to these arguments being made by the MDC Alliance. but certainly the issue around money will be a big issue, considering that the African Union as well as the United Nations had to come in and try and fund the elections of Zimbabwe.
But as things stand now, for as long as this legal battle has not been resolved, President-elect Emmerson Mnangagwa remains as such.
Yes, he remains president-elect of Zimbabwe. When you speak to MDC Alliance members, they'll tell you that Nelson Chamisa is actually president-elect.
Depends who you ask.
Well, we'll be watching this that battle, that legal tussle unfold in court in Harare.